Today's story is about a cheating wife's affair partner disappearing somewhere. There's a hidden secret behind the disappearance of the affair partner, so take your time and enjoy the story. I received an email from my cheating ex-wife who had left home, after supposedly awakening to true love, so I thought I'd share it here. It's been a while. I hope you've been doing well. I was worried since I hadn't heard from you for some time. There's been a big incident on my end. The other man I was having an affair with has gone missing. I know I'm not in a position to say this, but I don't have any money to live on. Could you possibly lend me some? With the other man gone too, I contacted my cold-hearted parents, but they're pretending not to know anything. They don't seem like real parents. It's terrible for them to ignore an SOS from their precious daughter they raised with such care, don't you think? At this point, you're the only one I can rely on. Please don't abandon me. Can you believe this? I wonder where that so-called true love went. Shouldn't she be trying to find her other man before asking me for money? What is true love? That's a lot of information to unpack. You're already divorced from your cheating wife, right? Please give more details. There are quite a few relevant parts, so I'll write about it while including some fake info. The divorce was 3 years ago, when I was 38 and my wife was 35. I was an office worker at a company, and my wife was a homemaker. We got married when I was 33. At the time, my wife was working as a temp office worker at a company. We met through a friend's introduction, dated, and got married. Well, up to this point it's a common story. My wife wasn't great with kids, so we chose not to have any, but I think our marital relationship wasn't bad. We used to go out together on weekends and such. However, something that gradually surfaced after marriage was that my wife had a habit of getting hysterically angry whenever things didn't go her way or something unpleasant happened. Also, if I was even slightly at fault, she would relentlessly criticize me about it, making me feel deflated on many occasions. Why won't you let me relax comfortably? Do you understand why I'm angry? If you do, then say it. Don't screw with me, you idiot. Her crude language when angrily yelling was a far cry from her usual self, and to be honest, the first time she had a hysterical fit, it was enough to make me take a step back. But given some time, she would return to her usual self. There were many times when I was actually in the wrong too, so I tried to take it positively, thinking she must be getting seriously angry for my sake. Normally, my wife was very kind, and our hobbies and ways of thinking matched well. I ended up thinking that I just needed to endure the times when she got hysterical. But really, if that was all, we should still be together now. At some point, my wife's behavior started to change a bit. When I say change, it might be cliché for the regulars of this thread. You might say it's cliché, but she suddenly started locking her phone, so I couldn't see it, taking a long time in the bathroom. And her fashion tastes changed. What surprised me the most was that she suddenly started carrying brand-name bags. I didn't remember buying them, and when I checked online, they were items that cost several $1,000s each. She had never shown any inclination of wanting such things before, so one day when I came home from work and saw a bag sitting on the desk, I thought, did the online shop send it to the wrong address by mistake? Wait a minute. What's with this? Don't tell me you bought it. Huh? Oh, that. A friend gave it to me. Gave it to you. But this isn't a cheap item, right? It's a super rich friend. My friend has several nice bags like this. Do I really have to be questioned over every little bag? Even when I asked who gave it to her, she would cleverly dodge the question, and if I tried to mention the price, she would say things like, "You're so stingy," and end the conversation there. But those kinds of bags kept increasing to 2, then 3. Just as I was thinking I should confirm the truth without letting her evade me anymore, my wife's affair came to light. The trigger was my wife's phone. While I was thinking my wife seemed strange lately due to the bag incidents and her usual behavior, her phone was left unlocked on the living room table. I peeked at the screen out of curiosity and saw a social media messaging app. The person she was chatting with was a man. It was not me or her parents but the other man. Thanks for the bag the other day. It's so freaking cute. No problem. Sorry it was such a cheap thing. By the way, did your husband say anything about the bag? He hasn't caught on? I told him I got it from a friend, and he believed me. He's too dense, my husband. More like an idiot, right? That's why his wife is being attracted to a strong man and pampered every day. You should tell him that. Hey, don't say embarrassing things. But it's true. When it comes to you, I know your weaknesses better. After the message, the other man sent a photo. It was a photo of my wife and the other man fully naked, faces close together. The moment I saw it, I almost collapsed. There was even a video sent right after. In my wife's reply message, she wrote things like, "Stop it," but she didn't seem to mind that much. Why do idiots who cheat always keep that kind of stuff? They probably think of it as some kind of trophy. Well, at least it saves the trouble of collecting evidence. I was so shocked that my thoughts couldn't keep up, and at the time I didn't even think of divorcing. I just thought I had to make my wife break up with the other man and talk it out with her. I was watching for the right timing to bring it up to my wife. To be honest, by that time my wife's hysterical behavior was getting worse by the day, and I was considering talking about divorce too. But surprisingly, it was my wife who brought it up first. It was during dinner. I have something important to talk about. Something important? Yes. Please divorce me. She really said it just like that, so I was dumbfounded. I've been thinking about this for a long time. It's better for you and me to go our separate ways. Our lifestyles, conversations, sense of money, values, they're all too different. You're always criticizing me. I feel uncomfortable when you're at home. Using personality incompatibility and making it out to be my fault, my wife seemed to be scheming for divorce. Realizing this, I regained my senses. Is it because you're cheating, by any chance? I accidentally let it slip out. My wife seemed surprised at first, but quickly changed her attitude and continued as if giving up. That's right. So you know. Your phone happened to be left unlocked. I saw everything. So, I told him not to take photos and videos like that. He's really an idiot. Even while saying that, my wife's expression didn't seem too displeased. I mean, in the photos and videos, she looked quite happy. That's right. I've awakened to true love. True love. Yes, that man is my destined person. The moment we met, I realized it. The existence of a new life partner. Contrary to my tragic feelings up to that point, at that time I was trying my hardest not to laugh. Wait, was my wife always like this? Did she always use such grandiose words? She was impressively drunk on love. The other man I was having an affair with is the heir of a family that runs a chain of restaurants. Have you heard of it? No, I haven't. I hadn't heard of the regional chain, but apparently they have a decent number of locations. The other man was supposedly the heir set to become the next president of the company. I'm sure he'll become someone who spreads his wings nationwide in the future. I want to support him in that. I realized that's my role when I met him. Right now, he's just a regular employee, but once he builds up achievements, it's already decided that he'll be entrusted with the president position. Don't you think that's amazing? Amazing? More like, how can you say that to your husband's face, while brazenly having an affair and asking for divorce during your marriage? I thought, so this is what it means to be drunk on love, and any remaining feelings I had for my wife, whose head was in the clouds, were already exhausted. I'm okay with divorcing, but in exchange, I want you to properly tie up loose ends. And I'm going to report this. I think that's the least we can do to atone to our parents, and people who celebrated our marriage and took care of us. I'm going to tell them the whole truth. Loose ends. Oh, you mean money? That's no problem. The other man's family is rich, so alimony and stuff like that is totally okay. My wife said with a beaming smile. Her recent lavish spending and carrying expensive bags must have been due to that influence. She completely ignored the part about reporting it. She seemed to have selective hearing for things she didn't want to hear. Selective hearing for unpleasant things, my ex-wife was like that too. They come to their senses after the magic wears off. I told my wife to get out that same day. But I'm not prepared. Isn't that a harsh way to say it? For someone who brought up divorce, she seemed dissatisfied about suddenly being kicked out. And it seemed she still lacked awareness that she was the one at fault. I was astounded, but she apparently didn't expect me to take an adversarial attitude. I mean, what was she thinking would happen? I consulted with people around me, which spread the word, garnered sympathy, and I hired a lawyer to demand alimony from my wife and the other man. The other man also acknowledged the affair, so the process went smoothly. I thought it would end just like that with the lawyer handling it. But actually, before the alimony payment, the other man's father said he wanted to meet me even with the lawyer present, so I went. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so the father had the same unrefined manner as his son. Despite his constant bowing, the father's remarks made it clear. He was the typical brusque and tactless owner of a small to mid-sized company. I heard he's the next president, but what are your thoughts on someone like that, making moves on another man's wife and causing a divorce? My foolish son has caused you great trouble. It's truly embarrassing and inexcusable. As you can imagine, he's selfish and immature. And I'm at my wit's end that I still can't entrust a single store to him. He's still learning, and for this to happen with your precious wife, I'm truly sorry. Yes. I'm frustrated too that he had to go after an older married woman. I'm appalled. I don't know how to apologize. In any case, we will pay the alimony. As an apology, we'll add extra on top of the requested amount. However, this will impact the company's reputation, so please keep it strictly confidential. Rather, we don't want the employees to find out. Well, he was better than the other man, but I felt he was a very inconsiderate parent. By the way, the lawyer admonished the president for his tactless remarks. I'll make sure my foolish son takes responsibility and stays with your wife. No, well, it doesn't really matter. My idiot wife couldn't even wait her turn and went after a man while being married. And also she is a woman who's clearly after money, but you'll take her off my hands, right? And she's way past her expiration date. I should be grateful. When I said that, the other man's father sighed as if agreeing. Incidentally, the lawyer complimented me for that refreshing comment. He was an interesting guy. He immediately paid the $60,000 alimony we demanded from the other man and my wife. He even gave me an additional cash gift as an apology. He called it an apology, but it was more like hush money. The process went very smoothly, so I recommend using a lawyer. One time, my wife called me. Just calling to check if the alimony has been transferred. Well then, I'm off to find happiness. I cheerfully replied, I hope you can find happiness, and hung up. People who are truly going to be happy don't make calls like that. I laughed because she must have some insecurities. You're really lucky. I bet the ending is the other man never becomes president. Well, listen to what happened next. When the other man actually tried to marry my wife, a problem occurred. Right at that time, the other man's father fell ill, and the president's position was hastily passed to the other man. On the father's orders, until the other man could properly fulfill his duties as president, he was not allowed to remarry my wife. The other man apparently devoted himself to work in order to perform well as the successor to the company. But it didn't go smoothly. Apparently, up until then, the other man had been a regular employee and hadn't done much work, relying on his father's name. My wife's parents seemed very angry about her affair, and my mother-in-law, who was acquainted with my mother, passed that information to my mother. So I heard the gist of it secondhand from my mother. One day, an old friend invited me out for drinks, and I talked about it then. My friend was also furious about my wife's cheating, but when he heard about the other man's company, his expression suddenly turned grave. And he showed me his phone. The president changed recently? Hey, isn't this the name of that company? The regional restaurant chain. Yeah, but, wait, you know about it? Know about it? It's one of our clients. My friend who said this works at a bank. He had worked his way up from an internal position and was now a capable man overseeing multiple departments. Forget client, our bank is providing them financing. I heard the president changed recently, so I wonder if that's why. Why what? You absolutely can't tell anyone what I'm about to say, okay? It could cost multiple people their jobs if it gets out. Then my friend started talking about the internal situation at the other man's company. Apparently, they recently requested more financing than ever before. The other man's company was expanding its business, but their financial situation was quite bad relative to the scale. There were even rumors that they planned to close down several locations. Hey, your friend shouldn't be talking about this stuff in public. The financial situation at the other man's company is bad because an idiot became president. I hope they go under. The commenters are saying it too, but as I listened to that story, I kind of understood why the company's financial situation was bad. Maybe the new president has been embezzling funds. The new president, you mean that idiot's son? Yeah. Before breaking up with my wife, it seemed he bought her a bunch of expensive brand name clothes and bags. It doesn't seem like a company that can afford to spend money like that. Oh, this is getting interesting. My friend mumbled for a while, then took out his smartphone and made a few calls. After finishing the calls, he turned back to me and said, "There's a chance your revenge plan might work out." I heard the rest of this story from my friend later on. My friend wasn't directly in charge of financing the other man's company, but he apparently used his connections within the bank to pull some strings and prompt an internal audit of the company. As a result, they uncovered repeated embezzlement going back several years. Of course, the one embezzling the money was the other man. He had apparently been funneling company funds into cars and brand name goods. The bags and clothes he had been buying for my wife were also paid for with that mysterious pocket money. He seemed to be doing tax evasion-like things too. This was disclosed by the bank, throwing the company into major chaos. Naturally, the financing was cut off. Soon after, the performance of the other man's company deteriorated, and the stores were forced to close one after another. In the end, the other man's company went bankrupt. After that, I heard more through my mother-in-law via my mother. Even though the other man had bankrupted the company, he and my wife continued living together, and apparently had marriage in mind for the future. The other man started his career at the bottom at a different company. But there's no way someone who had hardly worked could suddenly become diligent. Even after joining a regular company, he couldn't even properly answer the phone. He could barely use a PC beyond watching videos and surfing the net, let alone accounting software. Furthermore, he couldn't even properly deal with customers. And apparently was fired during the trial period at his first company after switching jobs. After that, he used connections from his previous company to join a different company in sales. But with his lack of professional skills, there's no way the other man could handle sales. When he stopped by a company he was close with, he said, "Hey, why don't you buy our products? If you do, we'll make sure to treat you right." He kept running his mouth, saying stuff like, "Don't you want to keep doing business with our company? If so, you're gonna have to sign bigger contracts with us than any other company." Because of this disrespectful attitude, the company ended up losing a bunch of clients they'd been close with for a long time. In the end, he tried to secretly receive kickbacks from vendors coming to the company, like he had done at his own company, but it was found out. And he was summarily fired. After that, he went to multiple companies but couldn't last at any of them, getting fired for incompetence, switching jobs, and repeating the cycle. By the time I heard about that, I felt a sense of catharsis. But according to my wife, he disappeared after that. I don't know why he suddenly vanished. Maybe some scary people took him away. I was just kindly giving advice to him while he kept getting fired in job hunting. Kindly giving advice, huh? Just the other day, he came home saying he got fired again, so I said, "Have you ever thought about why you keep getting fired? You promised to provide for me, but are you prepared for that?" I told him he should re-evaluate his work approach. I mean, I was a hard worker before becoming a housewife. I said it would be better for his future to re-evaluate and use the right methods. I also said he should make his job search more efficient. There's a limit to what he can do with his current skills, right? I told him to look up the annual salary rankings and apply to everything. Gross. Wasn't the wife originally a temp worker? Being told that by someone who quit right after getting married and was basically a jobless. Wouldn't that make you sick? I think so too. If a not-so-bright other man kept being told stuff like that in the wife's nagging way, it would make anyone sick. And then, the morning after having that conversation, when the wife woke up, he was gone from the house. Apparently, there wasn't even a note or anything. The wife seemed to genuinely not understand why the other man disappeared. She was saying things like, "I gave him such polite advice, and this is how he repays me." Isn't that terrible? I was totally turned off, thinking, she must be mentally ill. I took all the bags, sofas, and stuff the other man bought me to a pawn shop, but I could barely get any money for them. They tried to lowball me, saying the condition was bad. Are they telling me to starve? I went to the bank too, but banks won't lend you money at a time like this. Stingy, right? I definitely can't borrow from consumer finance. And my credit cards are maxed out. Isn't that bad? So please, let's live together again. If that's not possible, could you at least lend me the money I paid in alimony? I'm covering my living expenses with debt. My mom and dad won't pick up the phone. This is your chance to get me back, she said. So I replied, you didn't pay a single cent of the alimony, did you? If you need money, why don't you work in the sex industry? If there are any places that would hire you, that is. After that, the email stopped coming. I was laughing, wondering if she was seriously looking for a place to work. After that, I didn't hear from my wife, but apparently she went to my friend's bank to ask for a loan too. She tearfully said, if I don't pay back the money by tomorrow, they'll take me away, but when they told her they couldn't give a personal loan, she dejectedly left. Suggesting she switch to the sex industry was good advice. I bet the wife would seriously consider it. And that concludes the story of the cheating wife who lost everything after being abandoned by the other man.